Aloha, y'all. Daniel, Aaron, thanks for watching, tuning in. It's a juicy, pardon the pun, topic, this one. And yeah, so many questions come around this. I started fasting when I lived at Esalen Institute in 1998. My first fast was a 3-day fast, and it was incredibly challenging. More about that in a minute. Right now, it is day 4 of my spring slash equinox fast. I don't always get it right on the equinox, although I think I did start. And the way I've done this one, and the way I usually do it, I didn't used to, I learned this later on, and it makes it much easier, is to wean down, taper down the amount of food. So I'll go for a week or so with only having a meal at dinner. I'll have smoothies or that kind of thing during the day. That's kind of my normal anyway. And then after that, I will go to only liquids for some days, as much as a week. This time it was less, it was like 3 days. And then I'll go to straight water. And my ritual with this has become, and honestly, it took me years. For years, I thought, oh, that's a really good idea. I want to do that. But somehow I didn't have the discipline for it. And like all disciplines, now it's become simply a habit. So what I do is every equinox and every solstice, I fast for a minimum of 3 days on water. Now, I'm in the zone where I think I'm going to increase that. A good friend of mine who's really a top-level expert in fasting and cleansing, from looking at some of the old material on health, well-being, longevity, came to the conclusion, as it's put forth in many different places, that for every year that we've been around the sun, in other words, what our age is, mine is 54, that during the course of that year, it would be good for me to fast 54 days, not in a row, although people have done very long fasts. It's impressive and amazing. Longest I think I've ever gone is, I don't know, 17, 20 days, something like that. So back to now. Here I am, day 4 of just water. And I mix into that process, because I've lived in the tropics for many years. I do a parasite cleanse in the midst of that. Sometimes I do a formal intestinal cleanse with different kinds of herbs and psyllium and fibers to brush everything out, pull the mucoid plaque off of the inner linings of the intestines. I'm doing a little of that this time, not that much. And so here's an interesting thing. What happens with one's energy when they are fasting, right? Well, of course, so many people have the idea, well, if I'm fasting, I'm not going to have any energy. We think we get energy from food. More often than not, we lose energy from food. That's another story. In any case, fasting, yes, it's possible that it brings dips in our energy. Equally, though, it brings highs in our energy. So I encourage you to drop any preconceived notions about what will happen. What I have found is it's a very rare day that I am not able to do everything I would normally do, and oftentimes more than when I am eating like normal. So what I love about fasting, especially these longer fasts, right? I'm on day 4 and I'll go at least 7 days for the spring one, maybe longer. We'll see. What I love about fasting is, yeah, the first few days, I typically get a, oh, I'm hungry. Oh, I want to eat. Ooh, that looks good kind of thing going on. And I say, oh, okay, get out of it. Right. Last night when I brought my daughter some vegan ice cream home, and she really wanted it, and she cut up some chocolate shreds on it and some strawberries on it. And I was like, yep, that looks good. Sure does. But that's all right. I decided, I chose, right? So no worries. It's easy enough. After the first few days where I get maybe some cravings and, oh, this is challenging, then I start to get into the highs of fasting, by which I mean mental clarity. And that actually comes pretty quickly, usually within a day or two, right? Because the body's just not dealing with this constant thing of needing to digest food. It's a big deal. Well, what else is a big deal with food? Buying it, shopping, putting it away, preparing it, eating it, cleaning up afterwards, right? That's 6 steps. Each of those takes some minutes, and nothing wrong with any of those. And I can enjoy all of those when I'm doing it. And when I am fasting, though, none of those things are happening. So, what does happen, I get this mental clarity, and I love learning. I get insights, revelations, divine information comes to me in ways that it seldom does when I'm in the normal process of eating. Part of why that is, I believe, and this is good timing, right? Here we are, just past the equinox, just past the full moon, solstice, and coming into Easter week. And whatever faith you have or don't have, or religion, there's no doubt that there is a collective symbolism to this period. So it's an especially good time to let go of some of the earthly things like food, right? One of the benefits of food actually is it's grounding, right? And that can be good. I have friends that have gone into breatharianism, and one of the things they found challenging is they had a lot of trouble connecting with earthly things and people. I don't know anybody that's breatharian that's gone for more than a year, and all the friends of mine that have done it, three, I think, um, came back out to food by a year's time. So here I am, day 4, right? And this is a rare thing for me, but I woke up this morning like, ooh, I don't feel like I have much energy. Ooh, hey, another benefit that happens most of the time when I'm fasting is sleep so much better, right? I use a ring to track my sleeping measurements and various fitness measurements. And it's amazing to see how sharply increased is the quality of my sleep when I am fasting. Right. And every time I get to a point, usually around 7 days, where I'm like, why would I ever eat again? And then at a certain point, maybe I've lost a certain amount of weight, or of course there is the thing that happens with fasting is it's autophagy, which means the body starts to cannibalize various aspects of it, which is really useful because that allows for detoxing, that allows for a cleansing process that doesn't happen when all of its energy is occupied with digestion, right? So this morning I woke up and I was like, oh, I don't feel like I don't have very much energy. Okay, I was going to do a coffee enema later in the day. I'll do it first thing this morning. And yeah, I do get a little bit of caffeine from the coffee that way. The more important part is that it is liver cleansing, detoxifying, and that process of the enema, or colonics are even better, right? It just takes a bit more effort to arrange a colonic and go there and do that. One of the greatest benefits, though, is you bring all this water in, or coffee, or whatever it is that you bring in, and that it kind of helps usher out all of the toxins. So, how do you do it if you want to do it? Start small, make it easy. I recommend for everybody, first time fasting, do 3 days and do it as a juice feast, right? And for me, the first time I did 3 days, I was living at Esalen Institute, and it was so challenging. I was working in the kitchen, and the food was so good there. Every time we would get to a meal, like on the first day, I remember when lunch came around, it's like, oh, that's my favorite. I love that dish. It was like tempeh Rubens or something. I don't know. And I was like, I know what I'll do. I made a box lunch sort of thing, and I put it in the walk-in cooler. It made me a little section for it. So I was like, so I'm not going to miss out. I can have it later. And sometimes that's the way to go. Don't think about a 3-day fast or a 7-day fast or a 20-day fast, or I have friends that have done 40-day fasts. Instead, think about another couple hours, a little while longer. Right? And it's not necessarily easy for people in the beginning. It sure wasn't for me, though the benefits are so worthwhile. Right? And fasting, it can be just doing liquids, smoothies for a few days. I think of fasting as just changing up what we normally do. I was with a woman many years ago. She was a macrobiotic chef and counselor, and she suggested we do a 7-day brown rice fast. We did. I don't think I'll ever do that again, but it was great. I learned a lot. I had cool experiences with that. So last thing I'll say is I encourage you to play with it, right? And if you're new to it or haven't done it before, go for 3 days, use juices, not blended, so you don't get the fiber, just just the pure juice that you get at a store. Better if it's unpasteurized, fresh, clean juice, or that you make on your own if you have a juicer, or if all you have is a blender. Blend all the vegetables and then squeeze it through like a muslin cloth kind of thing to strain it. So many ways to do it. You can't go wrong. Start small, build the muscle of it, enjoy it. And I hope this is helpful. I hope it answered some of your questions. If you have any, feel free to comment below, ask questions. I'll come back to this thread later on. Thanks, y'all. Aloha.